Great. So I was just saying that there are many frameworks for approaching stakeholder management and analysis, and which broadly can be broken down into sort of 3 steps. One is identifying who those stakeholders are. Could be marketing, sales, customers, your engineers, designers. 2 is assessing their influence or decision-making and their level of participation in order to prioritize them. And there are ways of doing this. One example is like a power interest grid, which helps you plan your communication plan. And 3 is understanding your stakeholders, which is probably the most important. And again, there are many approaches to this, but basically you want to build your profile for each group of stakeholders, 1, figuring out what motivates them, 2, figuring out how to align with their priorities, and 3, how to change any negative views of your project. And I think the challenge lies, and the big reward maybe comes in figuring out where you can say no, or where and in what ways it's best to say no. And one of my favorite tools for achieving this understanding, by the way, is using empathy maps. And I'll be really interested to hear today how others engage with this topic. So for our guests joining for the first time, let me let 1 in and let 2 in. For those guests joining for the first time, you'll notice you will be muted on entry. You can unmute yourself when it's time to speak. You also can toggle your video on and off. We encourage you to keep it on so we all see each other and stay engaged. And just one last thing is to remind everybody that this meeting is being recorded, as it's our policy that by participating in the meeting, you agree that a recording will be available publicly on our YouTube channel and our website, which you can also go back and watch previous meetings. And so at this time, I'd like to introduce you to our president, Erica Tamburo. Erica, take it away.
Good morning. Thank you, Svetlana. I realized I wasn't on mute, so you heard a lot of typing. Welcome, everybody, to the Women in Product Toastmasters Club. The mission of our club is to provide an opportunity for women to develop product management skills, build and practice communication techniques, and gain leadership experience in a safe, supportive, and collegial forum. And we welcome everybody today who's joining us for the first time. We have many guests today. I have a very large guest list, and I see people are trickling in. Let's see who. So at the beginning of the meeting, we like to welcome all our guests and give you a moment to introduce yourself. Say your name, your interest in products, where you're from if you would like. So I welcome any guests that are on today to say hello to everybody. I might pick on somebody. Shifra, would you like to say hi?
Hi, I'm Shifra from New York City. I love product because it sits at the intersection between technology and user interests. And I'm excited to see what else unfolds during this meeting. Thank you.
Welcome. And if you're comfortable, you have the opportunity to participate in the meeting. Later in the meeting, we have an impromptu speech portion. If you would like to participate, you can. If you would rather not to, you do not have to.
Thank you.
Let's see, do you have any other guests on at the moment? People are still trickling in. I don't see anybody else. I would like we have a big celebration today. Today we have a new member, Clara. I saw you, then my screen changed, and then I lost you. Clara Kang, we would like to welcome you to the group. Thank you for joining. Would you like to say hello quickly?
Yeah, thank you all. I'm excited to start my journey with Toastmasters. So I saw that in my email that I got some information. I'll take a look at that, and yeah, excited to get better at my public speaking.
We're very excited to have you. Thank you. All right. So 2 things is it's a little bit different than our past meetings. Just wanted to remind everybody that you are all encouraged and welcome to give speakers feedback today. So please do that if you don't mind. And I will give it back to Svetlana. Thank you.
All right, our Toastmaster of the day, Misha, over to you.
Thank you. Yes, I'm on unmuted. Cool. Hello, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I'm delighted to welcome you all on this Sunday morning or afternoon, depending on where you are located. This is what I love about this group. You know, we get to interact with wonderful women around the states. The theme of the day is stakeholder management, and today you all are my stakeholders. It is my duty to ensure the meeting is orchestrated correctly, and all my stakeholders, like you all, find the meeting productive and valuable. In my experience so far, stakeholder management has varied dramatically at different phases of my career. When I was a recent college graduate working on designing silicon chips to now working at Facebook, managing a large cross-functional organization with visibility ranging from engineers to senior VPs. Different stakeholders have different needs, interests, motivations, and styles. To me, stakeholder management is an art more than a science. Identifying and engaging with key influencers, decision makers, value generators, customers, and execution partners will only make your job at hand easier. In product management, stakeholders are one of the wheels to your car. Without them, making any forward progress is difficult. Very early in my career, I learned that stakeholder management should not be confused with pleasing people. This topic for me never gets old, and I know today all of us would learn new techniques for stakeholder management to further polish the skill. Let me start by explaining the structure of the meeting. You can find the agenda in the calendar invite. And the meeting is divided into three sections. The first is the prepared speech section, where members will be delivering icebreaker speeches. Today we'll have Amy Kirkland, Rosalia Hernandez, and Tanya Sudolnik presenting their speeches. The second part of the session is table topics round, where we can practice our impromptu speaking. Isha Singh is leading this round, and no one knows what the questions are. So that will keep us on our toes and keep things interesting. Swati Priyam will be counting the table topic votes. The third and the final part is the evaluation round, in which all the prepared speeches will be evaluated by the general evaluator and the team. The general evaluator will be Raji, and speeches will be evaluated by Namrata Rao, Rupa Prakash, and Subarna Mitra. Alina will be the R counter who will keep so if, etc. Srimai K is the grammarian who will keep track of the grammar and word usage. Jennifer Ginsberg will be the timer who will be tracking how prepared speeches and table topics fit within the targeted time frames. Now, before we start with our speakers of the day, I would like to introduce Srimai, who would share our word of the day. Srimai is a senior site reliability engineer based off of Charlotte. She enjoys reading in her free time and loves to keep up with the latest technologies. She's currently on a sabbatical and spending time with her 1-year-old and started to learn violin a couple of years ago. Welcome, Srimai.
Thank you, Misha. Happy Sunday, everybody. So I'm the grammarian today. I'll be watching for exemplary grammar usage and giving my feedback at the end of the meeting. So the word of the day, let me introduce that to you. It's intangible. So if you have the slide open for intangible, I have a couple of examples, but I can just go over it. So intangible is the word of the day. So let me open that up. And so it's an adjective, and the meaning is unable to be touched or grasped. So it's not having any physical presence. For example, insurance policy is an intangible product. So the strategy for selling or marketing intangible products or services need to be different and strategized by a product manager. So these are some examples. So good luck. Over to you, Misha.
Thank you, Sunai. Oh, 1 second. I'm getting a laptop update. Not a good idea. Okay, I'm back. So let's get started with our prepared speeches for the day. And ever since we started this Women in Product Toastmaster group, each meeting I have learned a lot from this specific section. And I am pretty confident that today won't be any different. Our first speaker of the day is Amy Kirkland. Amy is a product manager for Incom Payments. She lives in the beautiful Portland, Oregon, with her husband and 2 dogs. She enjoys spending time outdoors, and this is like, whenever she can. And I would like to welcome Amy.
Thank you, Misha, for the introduction. And thank you, fellow Toastmasters and guests, for being here today. Did you know that people need to hear a message 5 to 7 times before they really get it? That's right, 5 to 7 times. Hello, my name is Amy Kirkland, and I'm a wife and mom of 2 crazy dogs named Ginger and Rufus. I grew up and am currently living in Portland, Oregon. I started my professional career in accounting and finance. And about 7 years ago, I found my way into product management. I found that product management suits me well for 2 reasons. I have a desire to learn, and I love working with a variety of people. That variety can be found in stakeholders. Stakeholders come in many forms: customers, users, executives, salespeople, support staff, engineers, and many more. I love that product management allows me the opportunity to work with so many people across the organization as well as outside the organization. I love that it's my job to orchestrate solutions to their problems, and I love seeing the delight on someone's face when we've solved a problem. But stakeholders can also be very challenging. Stakeholders are often hard to please, and there are often more problems to solve than resources available, which means that we have the hard job of saying no quite often. Empathy is an important trait of product management in understanding the user in order to build the right product. But empathy is also a key element in explaining the reasoning to our stakeholders of why we have to tell them no. We have to understand their concerns to better explain to them the reasons we're saying no and still maintain a good relationship with them. Stakeholders also require patience, and lots of it. Remember in the beginning when I said that we have to repeat our message 5 to 7 times? Through my own experience, I knew people sometimes need to hear things more than once, but I was shocked when someone first told me that. Over the years, I've learned that patience is essential to product management, and I've learned to hone my skill. Of course, having to tell people things 5 to 7 times definitely requires a lot of patience. As I started preparing for this speech and thinking about where to start, I decided to take an opportunity to try to learn something new. I decided to do some research on stakeholder management. I found a video that talked about stakeholders in terms of impact. Stakeholders are those that are impacted or can impact your product. Okay, sure, that's pretty straightforward. But it also talked about stakeholders as those who have perceived impact. I'd never thought of stakeholders this way. Of course, I've had to explain to different groups in the past how something isn't going to impact them, but I've never really considered them stakeholders. Seeing them as stakeholders adds a new perspective on stakeholder management for me. I love that there's always new things like this to learn in product management and in the products I manage. I also love the challenge and variety that comes with product management, especially stakeholder management. Even though stakeholders are often very frustrating, I always try to have patience and empathy with them. You never know when you might learn something new from them. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Amy, for the wonderful speech. I would like to give everyone a minute to evaluate the speech. All right. Our next speaker is Rosalia Hernandez. She's currently located in Phoenix, Arizona. She's an aspiring PM and currently works in sales operations at an e-learning company. Outside of work, she runs the I Am Project, a scholarship and mentoring network she co-founded to support women of color in STEM. How meaningful and exciting, isn't it? The title of her speech is The Biology of Stakeholder Management. And with that, I invite Rosalia to take the stage.
Thank you, Misha, for the introduction. Hi, all. It's great to be here. My name is Rosie Hernandez, and something you might not know about me is that my undergraduate degree was in biology, with a concentration in neurobiology. Now, you might be wondering, great, but what does that have to do with stakeholder management? Well, let me tell you. In an ideal world, stakeholder management would mean that we would have more teamwork and engagement with the people who our products will impact. Whether it's an internal or an external stakeholder, we ideally would love constant communication to ensure that our product and our project's deadlines and expectations are met. The human body can be similar to that ideal project. Now, before I go any further, I want to preface that I'm not saying product managers are the brains of every product or project. We know that there are multiple key players that will make a product launch successful, but for my human body analogy, we'll go with that. The brain is the product manager engaging in stakeholder management to constantly ensure that everyone, or in this case, every organ, is constantly receiving communication through the nervous system. You see, the human body is made up of multiple organs, and to perform at its fullest potential, all the organs must be in constant communication with one another, and that's possible thanks to the brain, which sends out neurotransmitters to the organs. The brain is the one that ensures our heartbeat will regularly beat and that our lungs will breathe in and out. The brain can also be able to receive communication from organs. For example, if your largest organ, the skin, accidentally were to touch a hot plate, it would send back to the brain a pain signal. And then in turn, the brain would know that it would need to send back a motor signal to your hand so that you remove your hand from the hot plate. Similarly, product managers need to ensure that communication is a two-way street so that adjustments can be made appropriately. And when it comes to our day-to-day roles, in order to operate as efficiently as the human body, we must take a couple of steps to ensure that. First, being that we need to identify who our organs or our stakeholders are. We then need to assess what our stakeholders' priorities or concerns might be for the product that we're working on. Once we have that important information, we can begin to prioritize and strategize the best methods for ensuring that our project deadlines and expectations are met. This is where we can play into the stakeholders' strengths and divide out our responsibilities appropriately. Lastly, we can discuss how we'll communicate, track, and report the progress from start to launch. Now, ideally, this is where everything would be smooth sailing. However, we know that complications can arise, and those can force us to pivot or adjust our launches as needed, similar to that hot plate example that I previously mentioned. Now, I know that biology might not be the first thing that popped into your mind when you thought of stakeholder management. However, it was the first thing that popped into my mind when I was preparing for this speech. And that was probably because of my background in biology. And this leads me to my next point. Not everyone that you will work with on your launch or your product will have the same perspective. We all have different backgrounds and experiences that lead us to formulate our own perspectives and approaches to product development. I know that I personally have found that when I do take into consideration a team or team member's background, I can show more empathy, and in turn, it can help strengthen our communication and relationships so that we can ensure we operate as smoothly as the human body. Lastly, I realize that there are multiple ways to approach stakeholder management. I provided a quick overview of how I personally approach it, and your method may be different than mine. But I think that's something that's important is to remember that regardless of how one approaches stakeholder management, is that communication is at the core of it. Communication alongside empathy and customization of our approach can help strengthen our relationships with stakeholders and alleviate some of the difficulties that come from managing effectively, especially if we ever have to say no to our stakeholders. Thank you, and back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Rosie. Let's give a minute to everyone for evaluating the speech. Great. Let's move on. So our final speaker of the day is Tanya. She has been consulting for a little over a year now and is currently working on 2 projects. One being launching a new children's network. She's responsible for the ad tech integration and is working with Google and their ad manager product. The title of her speech is Stakeholder Communication. With that, I invite Tanya.
Thank you, Misha, and hello to my fellow Toastmasters and guests. In mid-February, which I just realized is next month, tomorrow, I have to give a presentation to some very important stakeholders of one of my products. It's a targeted advertising tool in the media space that I have revived over the past year with great success. It's one slide to highlight achievements and roadmap in a very short time slot. A presenter's dream, right? Not a dream, more like a nightmare for me that's causing me anxiety. Hi, everyone. I'm Tanya Sodolnik. I'm from Littleton, Colorado, where I live with the most important stakeholders in my life, my husband, 3 kids, and 2 dogs. I am a huge ice hockey fan, and one of my favorite things to do is watch my kids play. Sadly, though, I haven't been doing much of that lately. 2021 marks a couple of very unique milestones for me. As of this year, I will have spent half my life in Canada and half here in the United States. It also marks half my career in engineering, where I started, and half in product management. All of the years have been focused on software development in telecommunications and media, from ordering and billing to video on demand to digital ad insertion. Of the paths to take, I feel that product management has been the most rewarding career-wise. Designing, coding, testing, and debugging as an engineer actually gave me my superpower, problem solving, that I've been able to apply in technical as well as business situations. When the opportunity to switch to product management presented itself, I did have doubts on how successful I could be. Well, in my first year after the switch, I won Product Manager of the Year at Ericsson, and the next year, my team won a technical Emmy, complete with a Las Vegas ceremony at a ballroom in the Mandalay Bay, where in the adjacent ballroom, the Adult Film Awards were being held. Seriously, I can't make this stuff up, and I wonder what being a product manager is like in that industry. Anyway, as a product manager, I have held sole contributor roles as well as leadership positions, working in small startups all the way to large corporations. It comes as no surprise that stakeholder management is so key to our roles as product managers. We understand that not all stakeholders are created equal, and how you manage one may not be how you manage the next. Some PMs use the RACI model, responsible, accountable, consulted, informed matrices, and some use interests versus power quadrants, mapping to prioritize stakeholder requirements. Whatever the mode, the common thread of stakeholder management is to create trust. How do you create trust? You listen, understand, and communicate. When you communicate, regardless of the mode, you have to know your stakeholders and tailor your approach. A simple example of this is I often get called out for using acronyms because not every stakeholder knows the finer details. So you need to spell out what your acronyms are. Or sometimes I start off a presentation by assuming everyone knows what my product does, and you need to take the time to give a brief summary of what your product is. These are just some of the little details that I have to consider for this executive presentation in a couple weeks. But these are either easy things to address, right? The apprehension I have is in the delivery, the speaking part. I often reflect on where the nervousness comes from. Where did it all start? I can remember all the way back to 6th grade. I won a public speaking contest. I performed in talent shows in the 9th grade. I ran for student office in the 11th grade. It seemed I was confident back then. Fast forward to the middle of my career, where I co-wrote a technical paper for the National Association of Broadcasters. The paper was accepted for publication, and they gave me the opportunity to present it at the conference in Las Vegas, and I turned it down. I have also had opportunities to meet with the press on occasion and have creatively deflected to someone else. With every single presentation I prepare for, I face the same demons. I get through it, but I fear that the struggle is so real that it impacts my delivery, my focus, and my demeanor. Well, enough looking back, it doesn't do anyone any good, but this is why I'm here, why I joined Toastmasters. I made the choice to do something about it, to stop being a scaredy cat. And then I skipped the first meeting. I hadn't yet convinced myself I could do it, but I am here now, and you all get to watch as my stakeholders in communication as I build my confidence, improve, and try new things. I'm so relieved to be here, and I'm so relieved this is done. Thank you.
We're all rooting for you, Tanya. Thank you to all the three speakers for the informative speech and sharing their thoughts. Let's give another minute to everyone for evaluating this speech. All right. Before moving on to the next section of the meeting today, I would like to remind everyone again of using the word of the day, which was intangible. So please try to use it if and when you get a chance. Now, moving on to the next part of the session, table topics, that will be hosted by Isha. Isha is an experienced product manager and our club's VP of Education. She's a go-getter and her superpowers are patience and determination. Welcome, Isha.
Thank you, Misha. So stakeholder management, as you all heard from our speakers, it is intangible, but is one of the most important pillars for us to be successful. Stakeholder management is the process of maintaining good relationships with people who have the most impact on our work. Communicating with each one in a right way can play a vital part in keeping them on board of your project. Now, my first question is, can you talk about a time when your communication and interpersonal skills helped dealing with difficult clients? And for this question, I'm going to pick Lori. If you need me to repeat the question, let me know.
Can you repeat it just to make sure I got it right?
Can you talk about a time when your communication and interpersonal skills helped in dealing with a difficult client or a colleague?
Yes, I can definitely do that. So one way that my interpersonal skills kind of help me in this situation is I am naturally like to tell jokes and kind of show my humor. So I think that really helps me with difficult clients or even coworkers, because you kind of get them more relaxed if you can relate to them and kind of get them to, just settle in, and then you can have those serious conversations. So that's one way that my speaking skills does. I think also I like to use the sandwich technique when you have to give feedback. So you make them feel good about themselves, you provide the feedback, and then you close that with, some more things that you'd like to critique. And I think by creating that trust that someone mentioned in their speech earlier, you are able to get them to open up a little bit more and make the conversation easier going forward. But humor usually definitely helps me with my stakeholders. Back
Thank
to you,
you, Lori.
Tabletop.
Thank you, Lori. That was great. Something that we all can learn from is to build that trust, use that sandwich approach. That will go a long ways. My next question is, could you give an example of a win-win situation that you negotiated with a stakeholder? And for that, I'm going to pick Nav.
Hi, everyone. Let me think about this for a second. Win-win situation. So at one of my companies, we were working with an external partner, and we were going to release something to them like 6 months from like today's date. And the dev team had been working on that deliverable for a while. And I convinced the dev team that this client wants to do some, they need certain parts of the epic or the features like sooner, like in 3 months. And I had to convince the dev team and the engineering teams on that. And the way I did that is by showing them that, hey, if the external client is asking us for something, they're going to be more willing to do like alpha and beta testing, and we can roll it out in their test pilot as opposed to like production. And so this is going to give you guys a chance to have it tested and live, and it's going to give us feedback as opposed to us having to deliver something 6 months from now, and where it has to be production ready, and we're not going to get the cycles for the alpha and beta testing. And so I think that really worked for them, because they were able to, I kind of tried to make it a win-win situation wherein the client gets what they need, and then the dev team also has the comfort that they'll get the cycles of alpha and beta testing, and we wouldn't have to be like production ready like right on day one. So that's how I approach that problem.
Thank you, Nav. Great. It can be difficult to work with the devs. That I know. All right, my next question is, can you talk about how important is feedback from a stakeholder? And for that, I am going to pick Rupa.
Thank you, Misha. Thank you, Table Topics Master. So how important is feedback from a stakeholder? So it definitely, in my workplace, feedback from stakeholders is extremely important. We are a small startup, and we make sure that we have taken feedback from most of the stakeholders for the changes or projects we make, because every project is like a big investment for us, like in terms of our time and resources. And with very limited resources, we need to make sure that we are investing them correctly. So we begin, like typically we have like brown bag meetings where we present the proposed changes and features, what we are trying to build, and adapt accordingly. So yeah, so that's, and also like while scoping the features itself, there is active participation of most of the important stakeholders. So yeah, so it is like a shared problem solving that we do. So that is how we approach. And of course, ultimately, we also think like, what are the best things that we can incorporate, and then go forward with the changes. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you so much, Rupa. I think it's important for us to talk to our stakeholders and have regular check-ins to take feedback, and not just at the beginning or at the end. So thank you. And that concludes this section. Over to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Isha. I would like to remind everyone to please send your votes for the table topics to Swati Priyam, and please do that. Please do that before the or close to the evaluations. Now that we will move to the next section, which is the evaluations. Our general evaluator for today is Raji. And Raji is currently the area D2 director in D101. She's also a part of a block team for D101. With that, I invite Raji to take the stage.
Thank you so much, Misha, for the introduction. Hello, everybody. I'll be your general evaluator for today. In this section, we will be giving evaluation to the speakers as well as the other role bearers will be evaluating everybody for the usage of language, usage of filler words, and the timers report. So without any further ado, let's begin with the speech evaluation of Amy's speech by Namrata.
Thank you. It gives me great joy to evaluate Amy's speech. If I can have her on the screen too, so I can look at her while I'm giving the evaluation, that would be great.
It looks like right now we can only pin people. So I'll pin her and hopefully that's it.
Sure, no problem. Perfect. Let's see, can I? Okay, perfect, great. Hey, Amy. First of all, congratulations on your icebreaker speech. The first speeches are always special and you did a great job. So first of all, congratulations on doing that today. I would want to let you know that I was really impressed with how you started your speech with the question. And that was something that readily pulled me as an audience into, okay, now I should be getting in and really hearing it out. So that was a great way to start the speech. Even how you had clarity, very well structured content throughout your speech was great, because it made sure that you understood the flow. You started with a question, tied it to your own personal journey, and then spoke about how stakeholder management has played out. This was a really well thought out and structured content that came through in your speech. So good job on that one. And I would say that you also employed a framework that helped us all understand how to even engage in as an audience, in the sense that we could see it flowing from one portion to another. So keeping up the flow was also great on your part. Some things that I would like to bring to your attention that you may want to work on as you go on. I would say the number one thing there is making sure that you are bringing about a little bit more variation in your tone as you speak through. That would be great, because, and also, it's not only about the tone, but there's also the gestures. You could also be using maybe your hands or even smiling more. I think that really ties your audience in. So I would definitely ask you to work on that. The second thing I would say is, making sure that, having a title for your speech, because that would, again, bring us all in, help us put up in a space and provide a context that we can all get into. So that would be the second thing I would encourage you. Even otherwise, having a title to your speech would be a great thing to look into as you go on. And last but not the least, in the things that I would like you to work on would be, the conclusion. The conclusion felt a little bit rushed. It would be great if you would have tied it in a way where we as audience would know what are the takeaways, or where you're concluding on. That would have been great. So that's another thing that I would ask for. The one thing I would challenge you on is you had a very well prepared content and you went through it, like I mentioned. The other thing is to get comfortable even with a place where you wouldn't have notes to look into. So if you can look into that piece, I would challenge you to look into that part of your speech. But overall, a great first attempt, and congratulations. It was a great pleasure evaluating you today, and I look forward to more coming from you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Namrata, for your detailed evaluation of Amy's speech. Moving on, now we have Rupa evaluating Rosa's speech.
Thank you, Madam Gentle Evaluator. Rosie, congratulations on delivering your first speech. It was a great speech, and it was very unique, I must say. So to begin with, I was intrigued and loved your title of your speech, Biology of Stakeholder Management. And I love the way how you tied that title with the content of your speech. That was really well done. As your icebreaker speech, we also learned a little bit about your background in biology and the unique way in which you presented stakeholder management with that tied to that topic was very interesting and different and done very creatively, I must say. So those are really good things about your speech. I also thought like your delivery was steady and at a good pace. The speech itself was structured very well, and you had I can see you had researched well and developed a good flow for the whole speech. So that was also very great. The points that you covered about communication, having empathy, and also being able to customize the communication based on the stakeholder itself was really important and valuable. Like the information you presented was valuable. So overall, I thought you delivered a very good speech. In terms of areas of improvement, I think uh, I think most of us have to learn to be more conversational. That is something even I want to improve on, and that is one thing that you could look into going forward, how to be more conversational in while giving a speech, so that people feel a good connection with you and it becomes more personable. So that is something that you could improve on. But overall, I thought as a first speech, it was really good. And and I think you all know so much about product management already. And some of us learn it like on the job, facing all these things. So it's really great. And congratulations and well done. Thank you. And back to you, Madam Ivan.
Thank you so much, Rupa, for your evaluation of Rosa's speech. Moving on, now we have Subarna evaluating Tanya's speech.
I don't see her in the meeting.
Right. Was she there and she just dropped off? Yeah, Rita, would you go ahead and evaluate Tanya's speech?
Yes.
Sure.
I want to say to the benefit of our members here that normally when you're going to be the evaluator, you take notes down. When you're not going to be the evaluator, you may not take notes down. And guess which I didn't do. But I must say that Tanya's speech for me was very memorable. So it's not such a bad thing that I don't have notes. Tanya, I felt that you did a tremendous job presenting today. I felt like you were already at a professional level. In fact, when you said, oh, I'm going to be doing this presentation for whatever it was that you said you were going to do it for, I thought to myself, well, of course she is. It just seemed like that because of just how you come across. That's a very special thing to do because when you can reach out to your audience and they can feel what it is that you're saying as well as hear what you're saying, it makes a very, very big difference. And you brought that forth with you. I was shocked at some point where you said that you didn't show up for the first meeting because of having what sounded like extreme butterflies. I couldn't even believe it. I thought, so what did you do between then and now that made such a difference? And I believe that honesty is what you brought to the table. And I think within the honesty that you brought on what you had to say, therein lies the ability to be very clear on what you're saying so that people are there with you all the way through. Your speech for me was a difficult one to say here's something you might want to think about doing, which is what I normally love to include with everyone. I would say if I was going to give you one, here's what to think about doing. I guess the one thing maybe look back at something that you felt was most memorable about what you shared, and then say, moving forward, here's where I'll go, so that we know that. So, in other words, one thing that I thought was very memorable is when you shared in the future, here's, when you shared that you missed that very first meeting, it might be a great ending to say, in the future, when something is feeling a little bit iffy for me, I can guarantee you that I will not go missing in action. I'll be there because I know I can, because we know that you can, just based on your speech today. So thank you very much. It was just a pleasure to listen to you.
Thank you, Rita, very much. Thank you. I had
Thank
to
you.
I had to turn off my camera because I almost burst into tears, and I just don't get it. And even when I practiced for my family, I cried. Like, I was nervous even in front of my family. So it's, I have to get over it, right? So let's go. Get over it.
So Tanya, if you ask me, I will put you on every meeting as being somebody who will talk. So if that helps,
okay,
let me know.
I'll think about it.
Thank you so much, Rita, for stepping up and evaluating Tanya's speech. Now moving on in the evaluation section, can we have the grammarian's report from Srimai?
Sure. Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Yeah, so today the word of the day was intangible, and Isha was the only person who used the word in her speech today. So congratulations, Isha. And Rosalia's speech was very good, with a lot of good usage of words. So for example, neurotransmitter, she used some words called pivot, which I thought was really good. Then Tanya's speech was also close to perfect, like the usage of words. For example, she used a phrase called scaredy cat, demons, and there was a lot of stuff. Sorry, I couldn't really catch everything, but Tanya's speech contained full of great words and good usage of them. So, and one more interesting usage was, I personally heard it for the first time from Lori, was the sandwich technique, which I'm going to look it up after this meeting. So that was good. Yeah, Rupa also had a couple of good usage of words like investing wisely, intrigued, etc. So, I would also like to mention the quote that Svetlana used from Warren Buffett about difference between a successful person and a very successful person is that a very successful person often says no. So that was good usage too. So back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Srimai, for your report on the grammar usage in the meeting today. Next, we have our counters report by Olina.
Hello, everyone. So here's my report already. For the Toastmaster, Misha, she had 5 ahs and 2 ums. For Amy, I didn't catch anything. It was perfect. Same goes for Rosie, and same goes for Tanya. It was very easy. Then going to the table topic. So first evaluation goes to the table topic, the master Isha. She had 3 ahs, 3 ums, 1 so. For Lori, who was our first table topic speaker, she had 5 ums and 2 you knows. For Nav, I actually counted 10 ums, 1 so, and 4 like. For Rupa, I have 11 ums, I have 4 so's, 2 like. And then we move on to evaluators. The first one was Namrata. I caught 1 ah, 9 ohms, and I caught 3 For Rupa, I have 12 ohms, 2 so. And for Rita, surprisingly, I was able to catch 2 ohms. For Srimai, I have 8 ohms and 3 so. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Urlina. Looks like all of us have some homework to do about controlling the usage of ahs and ums in our speeches while we talk. Moving on, let's have the timers report from Jennifer.
Yeah, thank you. So overall, everybody's bit within their time box, and I'll go ahead and read out the different times for each of the different speakers. So I'll start with our first speaker, Amy. She met it exactly at 4 minutes. Rosie, you were at 4 minutes, 45 seconds. And then Tanya, you were at 4 minutes and 50 seconds. All of the speeches were within that time box of 4 minutes to 6 minutes. And then when it came to table topic speeches, Lori, you were right at 1 minute and 5 seconds. Nav, you were at 1 minute, 37 seconds. And Rupa, you were at 1 minute and 24 seconds. So all of you did a fantastic job. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Since all our table topic speakers have qualified, we can send our votes to Swati, such that she can compile it and pass it on the Toastmaster. And while she does that and you all vote, I can go ahead and give my report for the meeting. So the meeting did start exactly on time with a beautiful quote by our SAA, Svetlana. I really enjoyed that she set in a mood for the whole meeting and continued it with the theme of the day. A very good job by our president introducing the guest and introducing the new member, Clara. Clara, welcome to the club. Then we moved on to our Toastmaster, talking about the theme, introducing it, and introducing the various sections of the meeting, which is a good thing to do for the benefit of the new member as well as any guest, or just to remind all members in general how the meeting is going to be structured. So that seemed like a good idea. Overall, I think we did do a good job. We had a full agenda of 3 speakers presenting their icebreaker speeches, which was really good. They all stuck to their time, which helped us stay on time, which is actually a good idea, so that we are not short on time and we give importance to all the role bearers in the meeting. With that being said, there were a few things which I think we could do better for our upcoming meetings. It might be a good idea between the SAA and the Toastmaster of the day to decide who will introduce the theme and give an introduction about it. Since both Svetlana and the Toastmaster of the day introduced it, there was a little bit of redundancy. Just for the easy flow of the meeting, I would recommend either one of them doing it and giving a detailed introduction about the theme of the meeting. And also, while introducing the role bearers for the day, in the beginning of the meeting, it might be a good idea to introduce all the role bearers such that it serves dual purpose. It gives all the role bearers a chance to introduce their role in detail, such that the members and the guests will be aware what these particular role bearers are looking for in this meeting. What is their agenda and what is the importance of the role in case they want to take it up in the future. And the second purpose that it's going to serve is to do a quick roll call such that all members are present, available doing their roles in case we need to find a last minute replacement. Just like the way Rita had to step up today, we wouldn't have that situation in future. Also something to look out for, maybe the first 15 minutes we meet before the meeting could be the member spotlighting. It's not sure if I was connected to the iPad, it was just me, but I did notice a lag. By the time the member was being spotlighted, they had almost finished speaking and we were still on the previous speaker or previous active speaker. So that's something to keep in mind, something that we can learn on the way and figure out how to do it seamlessly such that it appears similar on everybody's screen. As I said, this could be just my issue, but if it's not and others have seen it, then it's something to keep in mind. With that said, I guess overall we did a great job of pulling off yet another great meeting. So good job to all the role bearers who stepped up to take up the roles and give their speeches. And with that, I would end my report and pass it back to our Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator Raji. It was, I think, a great set of speeches and evaluations. We learned a lot. If you haven't seen your chat yet, Swati did post that Laurie was our winner of the table topics topic today. So congratulations, Laurie. And I really hope all of us took like some nuggets from this intangible skill for stakeholder management and communication. And I would like to thank all of you for spending your valuable time today. And with that, I would like to invite Erica, our club president, to take the stage.
Thank you so much, Misha. Thank you for leading a wonderful meeting today. Let me share my screen real quick. So today is the very last day of January. The January theme was new, new, new. And I'd like to congratulate everybody who completed their first speeches today. All new, new, new. And Tanya, you've inspired me that February's theme is going to be bravery. We're all trying new things here. We're all being very brave and sharing personal stories, and it's just going to help make us stronger. So thank you for sharing that today, Tanya. As you all have gotten emails that were chartered and you're official members, you now have access to pathways. I encourage you, if you haven't selected your pathway yet, to log on and select a pathway, explore. Let us know if you have any questions. Rita and Raji and a couple other members have been in Toastmasters for a while and have experience with the pathways. So if you're nervous about which pathway is the perfect, there are lots of people to talk to about that. So yes, please sign up. And then once you have your pathway, you know what kind of things you need to accomplish within that pathway, and you can work with Isha to work through your pathway and get on our club agendas. Isha will review that with us after when I hand it off to her, which I'll remember to do today. District 101 resources, please visit the district website. Remember to look there. There's lots of wonderful resources, lots of great stuff going on within our district. We're very lucky to be in the district we are. Podcasts, all kinds of things to find over there. Dues will be due soon. We'll start collecting dues. So Liz will be sending an email out to everyone. We may be able to benefit from a special new club chartering promotion that Toastmasters have. So we're looking into that and seeing if we can figure that out for new members. And speech contests, we are well, just about to jump into contest season. There was an email I sent out. Our area contest Ansu is looking for 2 volunteers, and I know Svetlana volunteered, so thank you very much, Svetlana. Ansu's looking for another volunteer, so if somebody is interested in volunteering and helping out with the contest, that is on March 19th at 6:30. So please let us know if you're interested. We might be required to volunteer one of you if nobody speaks up, so I'll check in with Ansu. Club contests, we're new to contests, and we're going to figure out how to have our first club contest. I'm going to send out the survey hopefully today and get a count of who will be interested in participating. Encourage everyone to participate. This is fun. We're all learning, and this will be our first time for everybody. So, you know, come have some fun and see what it's all about. Leadership meetings are now the Tuesday before club meetings. Everybody's invited. We'll share information for that. You can come to our leadership meetings and see what we talk about. Please join us. So our next club meeting is February 14th at 10 a.m. And we will announce when the club contest is once we figure out a date or how many people would like to participate. And the area contest is March 19th. Any questions on pathways? I wanted to, provide a little bit of space to be able to talk about that if anybody had any questions.
I have a question, Erica. So I got an email that said like, select your pathway or whatever. So when I did that, there was one that was recommended. Is it in our best interest, maybe Rita or other Toastmasters that's done this before, is it in our best interest to do the one that's recommended, or can we do any of them and just dive in? I'd like some feedback if anyone has that.
Rita here. When they say to you, this would be the one that they recommend, it's usually based upon the assessment that you did. You did an assessment with them. And here's how I look at it. If it resonates, what they suggest, and you say, yeah, I was kind of thinking about doing that, then I would do it. If you look at it and say, there's no way I would have picked that, I would have picked this instead, then I would suggest that you do that, because you will be more invested with the thing that you really were interested in, rather than doing something else, but always kind of thinking about this other thing here.
Great, thank you.
So also, I was going to show it with my slide. There is a resource that is available that I'll share it out after the meeting that explains the process of what the Toastmasters, what the pathway selection is and what different kinds are and what they are. So even before going into the portal, you'll be able to see in a PDF format what it is. So that'll give you an idea. So you can think about it. And then as Rita just mentioned, or Lori just started the conversation, that there is an assessment that you can fill out, and there will be a recommended pathway for you. And that might be something that you would want to take or not, depending on Rita's advice. Take your pick and then go from it. So I'll share that out after the meeting.
Okay, one more quick item before I hand it off to Isha is we always encourage feedback from our guests. We're very happy to have you here. We hope that you had a good time today and consider joining us. And if you have any feedback for us, we welcome hearing how your experience was today.
I'm a guest. I'm new to this group. I've attended a Toastmasters group before as a guest, but never joined fully. I'm very nervous. I'm very intimidated. And I just want you to know that the way it was conducted, the way the speeches were given, the way the people gave feedback made me feel like it was possible to join and not be intimidated. So I want to thank you and let you know that it is possible, and you guys did a great job, and thank you for making me feel like I could do it too.
Thank you so much for that feedback. That's the best feedback that we could ever possibly get. My very first Toastmasters meeting a very long time ago, I kind of ran away after that experience and they can be quite intimidating. And thank you for letting us know that we're building the environment that we hope to build.
By the way, who was speaking? Because I could not see you on the video, so I can follow up with you. Who was that? Shifra. Okay. Yep. Thank you, Shifra.
Okay, I am going to hand it over to Isha, our VP of Education, who will talk about meeting roles and our next meeting.
Sorry, Erica, while you were taking feedback, is this a good time to give just like any other general feedback too? or should I wait until the end?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. You cut out for a second.
Oh, I was just saying that before we move on to the like the next section, I just wanted to ask, is this a good time to give feedback in general also, or I just had some recommendations, or should I wait until the end of the uh, meeting?
Sure, we could have quick ones now.
Okay, yeah, one thing I felt that would be very helpful would be if we had like a pinned post in our Facebook group or something, or a one email that just is sent out with all the resources that you guys have for now. Like when I was thinking about what my role was being a Toastmaster, I sent out an email to Liz, and she has a great template of how you should think about the whole program, and it walks over what my responsibilities would be. So I think there are these great resources that are already there. Would be awesome that you have like one pinned post. Similarly, Isha last time sent me a template for our counter. It was amazing. It tells you exactly what to do, how to do it, all that. So as we are, making progress, I think people will start building these templates. It would be great to share.
Yeah, I think there's a Google Drive that all these documents are in, but probably we could pin them to the Facebook page. Probably
Now
we can do that.
Right. What I realized was that Misha is the first Toastmaster outside of the leadership team. So we were all accustomed to using the Google Drive, but I think that that is not something well known. So I think thank you, Misha, for the feedback. But yes, I think we should put all of these out. And the other thing is, I've found myself posting at different places. Not everybody is on Slack, not everybody is in Facebook, and not everybody reads email. So you have to have those 3 different places. So we probably could think about selecting, our primary source or secondary, or maybe if it is that we decide that we have to go all around, posting it in 3 different places, but that should be a decision that we should make together.
Yeah, and with that, I think one just taking feedback from Raji as well, that it would help clarify what like Sergeant of Arms versus Toastmaster versus like whoever, right, is supposed to be doing, and it'll be like extremely clear for everyone participating.
Thank you so much for that feedback. Okay, Isha, would you like to talk about the agenda?
The roles for the next meeting, yes. All right, so the roles for the next meeting, there's the theme here. I will work with the speakers offline, and I'll put something out there because now even I need to understand a lot of the pathways to know the themes and how that'll all work. So but the roles here are our Sergeant of Arms is still going to be Svetlana, Toastmaster will be Swati, word of the day will come from the grammarian, our speaker 1 is going to be Srimai, speaker 2 Svetlana, if you're up for it. Speaker 3 Namrata Rao, Misha will be an evaluator, I will be an evaluator, Olena will be the 3rd evaluator. Table topics master Liz. I don't know if I see Liz today, but I'll post this. General evaluator Rita. And I know we will be switching between Raji and Rita as being our general evaluators. Grammarian will be Jennifer. Our counter Amy. Timer Nav. Again, our Sergeant of Arms is Svetlana, and the vote counter will be Lori. If you are not available to meet any of these roles, please reach out to me so we can discuss. If you are not able to fill these roles, please also look for a volunteer or your replacement, and we can switch roles there. If you would like to volunteer for any of the roles moving forward, or if you have speeches that you would like to practice, please reach out to me so I can slot you in. Also, I would challenge everybody that by Sunday, February 7th, please sign up for your pathways on the portal so that we all can get onto the journey together. So you can, if you can't make out for the meeting, or you can't, or you would like to volunteer or have any questions on pathways, please reach out to me by emailing wiptoastmastersclub@gmail.com, or my personal email, ishasingh2005@gmail.com, or reach me out in Slack. I will also send an email out with this information and the roles, so you know what your roles are for the next meeting. And then with the speakers, if you have questions, we will touch base offline. Any questions right now that I could answer?
Just going to jump in and say what I just wrote in the chat. I will not be able to do my speech next meeting, but very happy to do it the following one. So if anyone wants to volunteer now, let us know. Otherwise, we'll be reaching out by email and on Facebook.
I can go with the speech if that's okay for the next meeting.
Okay, so Olena, I will move you up from the evaluator to the speaker, and then I will, Raji, would you be willing to do the evaluation?
Sure, I can do it.
Okay,
excuse me, if you don't mind suggesting, you've got enough members now that have spoken. It should be one of your own members that does the speech evaluation.
Okay, so how about Namrata? Would you be all right doing an evaluation?
She's giving a speech.
She's giving a speech. I'm actually, I'm totally happy to do the evaluation, by the way.
Oh, all right. Okay, okay. Sorry, I didn't know you were going to be participating.
Oh yeah, yes.
Okay, perfect.
Great.
Okay, so I will send this one out with the new roles. All right.
And just to confirm, you said the theme will be confirmed later, right?
Yes. And take a look at your pathways, right? And see what you have.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So closing out, our next meeting is Sunday, February 14th, 10 to 11:30 is our slotted time. If we get done early, we get done early. Please, if you have any questions, email WIP Toastmastersclub@gmail.com. Not only me, but a few others have access to that email. So if I'm not responding to those emails, somebody else will. This is our channel of communication that is consistent. And you have other emails for reaching out to.
Next meeting is on Valentine's Day.
Yes, next meeting is on Valentine's Day. We will share the love here with fellow members. All right, that concludes the meeting. Any last minute things?
Leaders, please stay on after we end the meeting. Go ahead,
Yes, I was actually just going to say that we discussed in our last leadership meeting, basically figuring out the best way to have a short retro for the meetings that we do hold for these meetings. And so one idea that we had was basically following our meeting, just spending 15, 20 minutes, almost as a stand-up type of meeting where we just kind of run through how things went and if we have any sort of immediate notes for ourselves. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe everybody's welcome to join that stand-up. But let me know if that's not the case. Erica?
Arita? I'm going to defer to
Arita.
What do we, I'm sorry?
I was wondering for the idea that we had about having sort of a quick touch base after these meetings for about 15 minutes instead of having a full leadership meeting, just having a retro of the meeting that just happened.
Right. I think that's what we talked about the last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it okay to invite others to join or just the leadership meeting, the leadership team?
Well, it's really up to you. You
Okay.
should decide.
Yeah.
The only time that I would say no to it, but that's just me, is if there was some kind of gnarly personality in your group and you had to talk about that. But otherwise, everybody seems to just be quite wonderful. So I don't see that there would be an issue.
I agree. Great. So in that case, before closing out, the leadership team will stay on to discuss. But if anyone wants to stay on our call and pitch in, please go ahead. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining today. Thank you everyone for sharing, for speaking, for giving feedback. It's been great. So thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And meeting is adjourned. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.